McNamara took over as coach of the Bradford Bulls here at Odsal, and 3 years ago they entertained Warrington in the playoffs. Now these two teams, with both of them in the bottom three of the Engage Super League. The Bradford dressing room, 9 League and Cup matches this year, 7 decided by outcomes of 4 points or less. 3 of the last 4, just a 2-point margin. Tony Smith returned to the club as coach 18 months after leaving Leeds for England. He's finding club coaching is no easier than on the international scene. He's won just 3 of his 7 in charge. This is the way the two teams will line up. The Bradford Bulls have got Halley at fullback, Sharif, Sykes, Platt and Tajulala. Menzies is alongside Jeffries. The forwards, Lynch, Newton and Kopjak, Cook, Langley and Burgess. And on the bench it's Warrensey, Scruton, Solomona and young Tom Alberson, who makes his Super League debut for the coach, Steve McNamara. Now the Wolves, Riley at fullback, Hicks, Bridge, King and Johnson, Breers and Monaghan. Up front it's Morley the skipper, Clark and Carvel, Louis Anderson, Westwood and Harrison. And on the bench, Vinnie Anderson, Hyam, Wood and Cooper. And the coach, as I say, is Tony Smith. Well, history favours Bradford. They've won the last 4 home meetings with Warrington, and all of them quite comprehensively. They beat York in the Cup, Warrington, faced Featherstone the week after Super League's Magic Weekend in the next round. And possibly a cup run would take their minds off a woeful Super League season. 13 years ago, Tony Smith's elder brother Brian revitalised the Bulls by guiding them to a first Wembley appearance in 23 years. Looks like everyone who's travelled from Warrington tonight has been given a flag to wave, and let's hope it's not the flag of surrender in 80 minutes' time. The Bradford Bulls never finished lower than 5th in Super League. Warrington have finished in the top 4 only once, that was 2005. No Nero, Deacon, Morrison or Godwin tonight, but Bradford believe they have the men here who can do the job against Warrington. Steve-O, what say you?
It won't be easy for either side. The pressure really is on. They'll be suffering from the heavy weekend over the Easter programme. But I must say that the two coaches, they would have said to their charges, it is important that we get off to a flying start. If they can get points on the board early, psychologically, that will lift them. It has been a shocking season so far for both coaches, for Steve McNamara and Tony Smith. And as I mentioned in the build-up, 13 internationals on Bradford's side on display tonight, as is 13 for Warrington as well. But I'm afraid very few of them have really stood up to the plate and shown international form. That may be different tonight. Maybe the help of the French referee, Thierry Alibert. Let's hope he gives them plenty of space, because there's quality out there, and let's hope tonight that we will witness it.
Well, in 2005, Bradford got to the grand final and won it against Leeds. They only have one survivor in their lineup from that night, Jamie Langley. And coincidentally and ridiculously, Warrington have more of the Bradford side in their lineup tonight. Paul Johnson and Adrian Morley figured at Old Trafford that night. This, though, is for 2 Super League points. Paul Sykes gets us underway, and Warrington will have first use of the football. That's Riley, and here goes Gareth Carvel on the charge. And a good chase from the Bradford forwards, and they greet him just 10 metres away from his own line. The kick-off from Sykes had plenty of hang time. Here is Morley. He played 6 games as a guest at the end of that season, 2005, made it to Old Trafford, won the grand final. He's now the Englishman who's won grand finals on both sides of the world. And that is a drive forward by Ben Harrison. There's the Bradford Bulls coach, Steve McNamara, watching anxiously on from ground level. Good, solid defence from Bradford on Ben Westwood on tackle number 4. The kick from Breers down the line, but Dave Halley is there to pouch it. And Halley had a fine game against Leeds when we were last here a week ago on Good Friday. And he gets as far as Chris Bridge.
And I'm sure his coach, Steve McNamara, will want a carbon copy of that. It was a pretty hard slog against the Rhinos. Much better conditions tonight. Interested to see how Jeffries and Steve Menzies slot in. Tony Smith
And of course James Lowe's alongside him, coming back to a very happy old stamping ground as far as he is concerned as well. This is the place where Lowe's really did play the best rugby league of his particular career. It's a big night for James Lowe's this evening as well then, the assistant coach to Tony Smith. Jeffries with a high kick, and this is a tester here for Riley. Oh, and Riley has fumbled it, and Clark was surely offside, but it's play on with Michael Platt. The referee will put the scrum down for the knock-on. Obviously he must have seen two knock-ons there.
Well, it's deemed the first knock-on has come from Chris Riley, so it'll be head and feed to the Bulls. Well, pretty good tactics by the Bulls. The build-up
shouldn't that have been play on?
Well, that's what I thought, but it already blown the whistle as the official.
And Jeffries gets the pass inside to Steve Menzies.
Just making the point, Eddie, that Terry Newton playing the same sort of style that they did against Leeds. That short, flat pass, should I say.
Wait!
Short, platted pass.
Something like that.
Okay.
He's out there as well.
Here's Jeffries now. And he finds Sykes, who gives it to Platt. And Platt is hauled down by Lee Breers.
What a tackle. Tremendous ball and all tackle there from Breers.
Sykes again will find Langley. Langley will drive it in at the chest of John Clark. Newton at dummy half will come down the short side, gets the pass away. Warrington were waiting for that. They sprung the trap. Sykes nowhere to go. Clark very eager around the ruck as Newton finds Jeffries, who was clattered after the ball had gone. The referee, though, says that Warrington defused the kick, and it is a tap on the 20.
Good position there by King. Got himself defused the bomb. Not a bad build-up. Steve Manamata would be quite happy with that.
Ominously for this Bradford club, you look around Odsal tonight and there are spaces all over this vast Odsal dome. This really was the club that led the way for so many years in Super League, but it appears tonight that the fans, and indeed the fans of both sides, because Warrington haven't travelled in the numbers that they would normally, maybe they are just voting with their feet, and the fact is that they are at the wrong end of the Super League table right now. There's such potential in Warrington, and indeed there is here, we know that. And Morley makes the break. Morley for Warrington. And he was very brave then, Dave Halley, as he brought the big man down. This is the last tackle. They must score wide. King has dropped the ball. It finds its way into touch. Was it dropped? Was it dislodged? It's a Bradford head and feed.
The official has got it right. Breers tried to the long pass out there.
But he's changed his mind, the referee, Steve-O, I must tell you. He did signal first of all that it was going to be Bradford's head and feed as we see the run from Morley. Now it is Warrington's head and feed.
Well, it's deemed that they actually went for the football. It's always difficult for an official in regards to that ruling whereby if you committed yourself into the tackle, it's often just play on. More pressure for the Bulls, but what about the great run from Morley? That'll lift their spirits. Alibert saying that you need the full complement in there, thank you. Now he's got it.
Great chance for Warrington here. This is Breers. And Breers just tries to ghost through on his own, and Newton tracked him all the way with Platt. He helped him down. That was Hicks at dummy half. This is Ben Westwood. And Clark waits dummy half for Warrington. Fires the pass to Breers. That was Monaghan's. Good ball, and first try of the match comes from Louis Anderson. Warrington strike first. They got the head and feed at the scrum. The pass from Matt King, we thought it had found its way over the far touchline, but indeed a Bradford player touched it in the tackle, knocked the ball out. Referee first of all gave head and feed to Bradford, then gave it to Warrington, and Warrington take full value from that little bit of charity.
Tremendous play. The pass straight through, and you can see they utilised the dummy runner back on the inside. He was coming on the angle. This is where it all came about. You can see there that Tajalala got him, Ricky Sharif got himself involved, but that's beautiful play. That's the way to run. Get a dummy runner coming back on the inside, and he comes on the out. No one laid a finger upon him. Great work.
Louis Anderson, he missed the last 5 of 2008, and Warrington lost them all. He's a New Zealand international 18 times. He is the younger brother of Vinny, who is waiting his chance on the bench. Now Chris Hicks, 19 Super League goals. He wishes and he wonders why it isn't 20, because he missed what for him was a simple kick against Salford on Good Friday that would have given them at least a point. He doesn't miss that one, and Warrington are ahead by 6 points to 0.
There you go, look at the inside. Dummy runner, that's the reason why it pulls him in. No one at home, nothing that Sykes could do. Just a simple hesitation, and that's all it takes. But that was great stuff.
Hold on. Okay.
So Sykes restarts with Bradford 6 points down. Monaghan, the man underneath it, gives it to Carvel again. And Carvel takes the first tackle of this latest set of 6.
I think important for Warrington to score. You know, the first half of the game that they played on Easter Monday against Casford was one of the closest 40 minutes you will ever see. The Tigers were the only side who actually managed to put a score on the board, and 6 points to 0 lead at half-time. You just sort of saw the confidence drain away from Warrington as the match wore on, and the tension perhaps a little bit in their attack. Having the lead will certainly help them.
Carvel again for Warrington, the big forward who was brought into the side during the winter, and that's a good kick. He was looking for a 40-20, went underneath the feet of Dave Halley, and that's going to sit in the in-goal area, and the Tracers have arrived. He's just got over the line though.
Didn't he do well there? Oh, look at the defensive action. And a big hole of Bradford at the moment. Look at them, they're very tired getting back. Well, the enthusiasm you're showing there in the Warrington outfit. Can't say the same about Bradford. They'll do very well to get anywhere near the halfway line when it comes to the last.
This is Andy Lynch, the Bradford captain, making good yards. The last tackle here for Bradford. Newton to Jeffries. He'll just scoop it over the top, looking for the sideline, doesn't quite find it. Riley then picks it up for Warrington, the young full-back. Good chase from Bradford.
Well, we saw Adrian Moller charge down. If he'd actually made the tackle, there's a chance that he and his teammates might have forced him back in goal. Good work, I suppose, by Halley to just sort of spin away from Moller's shoulder charge.
We're now Matt King. A try in 2 in a row at home in March against Hulkingston Rovers and the Celtic Crusaders. Plays the ball there to Clark. This now is Ben Harrison. 4 tackles gone. Warrington still inside their own half. Clark once again at dummy half for them. Goes infield and finds Breers. Breers gets the kick away, but Sharif is there. Halley is there as well. Dave Halley gives it to Sharif. Began a movement that led to a try. Ricky Sharif against Leeds last Friday from deep inside his own half of the field. Wonderful run.
Pretty good kick and chase though by Warrington. Tony Smith, their coach, will be quite happy with that. They've got the momentum and they appear with their defensive quality to sustain anything that Bradford's putting to them at the moment.
This is Sam Burgess and the ball has come free and the referee says it's a knock-on, and Terry Newton and Sam Burgess appeal to the referee that he got that decision wrong. Terry Newton looks furious and Sam Burgess looks perplexed.
Well, he was trying to get to it and Carvel was still hanging on to him, and well, I think there might have been a hand in there. We'll soon see.
Well, our camera there got a same view that Thierry Alibert got, and he decided Warrington scrum. That's why they're in possession on the halfway line. 10 minutes of the match gone. Warrington are ahead by 6 points to 0. Yes, not the start that Bradford wanted this.
No, it's not, and the most worrying thing for the Bradford side is the ease in which the Warrington Wolves are going up the field. And interestingly enough, Michael Platt, that's playing in the centre tonight for the Bradford Bulls, isn't used to playing in that position, and he must have already made 9 or 10 tackles in this game already. The Warrington side are really targeting Michael Platt on this left-hand side.
And that's good hands, and here's another try for Warrington, scored by Chris Hicks. That's great hands from Warrington. Bridge it was with the final pass, just flicked it wide, and Hicks was standing in all sorts of ground on this right wing and just scampered his way over the line. His 5th try of 2009. A great start here for Warrington and their flag wavers. They've made the journey across. They're happy with what they're seeing. Chris Hicks with the try. He has started the last 3 at full-back, playing tonight on the wing. He's played and scored in every round last year. Top try scorer this year.
Well, I made the point of Bradford playing it very, very simple. Warrington, they've come to play out wide. Tremendous quick hands. See there that there was interference by Carvel, not seen by the official. Sam Burgess appealed, was turned down, and from that position, it's amazing how things can just change around on the decision of one referee. And that gave him the opportunity. Remember, the first try came about when the referee, Thierry Alibert, decided to give the head and feed to Warrington, when at first he'd given it to Bradford. That was when Anderson combined with a beautiful pass by Michael Monaghan, and on this occasion they've had the shade of luck going their way, but take nothing away from the quick hands. Beautiful centre play by Chris Bridge to put in Hicks into the corner. Can he add the extra two?
Well, he will try. It's a difficult kick. It's about 5 metres in from the touchline, this near side, as you see. Hicks, though, has struck it fairly well, and he just hits the post, and it goes out. Just picking up on the point that Justin Harris made about Michael Platt playing tonight in the centres. It's 5 years since he played in the centre, Michael Platt, and then it was for Rochdale.
You can see Tajalala, he'd made a decision to go for Bridge. It was an easy stroll for Hicks.
Michael Platt being targeted by Warrington. He's a shrewd coach, is Tony Smith. He will exploit any weakness that he believes is there in the opposition.
Well, the problems for Bradford have been the decisions that they've made in defence, not the attempted tackles. We've seen Powell Sykes exposed because Warrington are sending lots of runners. And when you're studying the defensive line, you have to make an instant risk assessment. Who is the man most likely to get the ball? The closest to me that I should get in front of and stop. Unfortunately for Bradford, those decisions have been wrong ones. Warrington's skill and players in motion has been able to expose them and put 10 points on the board.
Well, the opening 12.5 minutes, Warrington have looked very eager and very quick. They were flat, to say the least, on Monday in their match against Castleford. Breers again with a kick on the 4th tackle of that set of 6. Here now is Halley, and that's a great chase from Matt King.
Well, it looks informed, doesn't he, Lee Breers? And again, good kick and chase. They're just applying the power, and I must say they're winning the arm wrestle.
Lee Breers missed the 2 games over Easter. Warrington lost them both. There is no doubt in my mind that Warrington play better when Breers is on song.
Yeah, without doubt. And he certainly looks as though he's settling in. It's been a problem throughout this season. The combination of Breers and Monaghan, that's not that they've had many opportunities, but they really have not hit the high spots. But you've seen already on that occasion that they're both busy, and that must be encouraging for their coach Tony Smith.
Jeffries with the kick, poor, straight into the arms of Chris Riley. And Riley will run this ball back. He has missed the last 3, but he was full back in the first 6, and he gets a penalty here. The first penalty of the match goes Warrington's way.
Well, was there a hand in there? Well, obviously it was. Cook adjudged to have had a lazy hand in there. It's amazing, yet again. They've had the luck of Warrington, but they are playing by far the most expansive of the 2 sides. Oh, that looked high from Newton.
Carvel shrugs the bash in the face off and plays the ball. That was Monaghan. And here is one of the try scorers, Louis Anderson.
Interesting to see there, Carvel, after playing the ball, he's just dropped that.
It's a penalty.
Well, the Bradford crowd had little to cheer about, plenty to shout about in regards to the official. Lazy arm.
Lots of it, the fourth 50-50 call that's come Warrington's way at the moment. You have to ride your luck, take advantage where you can, and the Wolves want to do that now.
Yes, they do, and there is Anderson again. We play it to John Clark, and Clark will go on his own, and Clark, he's almost over. He was almost over. That's a try-saving tackle by the man underneath him. Monaghan, and here is Morley, will go back the same way. Morley is tackled. It was Kopjak, the man who got underneath to prevent the try. Westwood, and here is Hicks, and it's a second try for Chris Hicks. And Warrington are making hay down this right-hand side. And Chris Hicks. Well, no smile on the face of Tony Smith yet, but this is a ground that he has a pretty good record on. Odsal, he had a great record with the Leeds Rhinos, and looks like he's continuing where he left off with the Warrington Wolves. Chris Hicks' second try, and there's an almost funereal hush around Odsal, apart from where the Warrington supporters are, of course. The Bradford fans can't believe what they're watching here.
Well, it's one of the smallest crowds that I've seen here. As Phil Clark mentioned, 50-50s are going the Wolves' way. They're frustrated at the Bulls, that's for sure. But you've got to say that the defence was pretty poor here. Paul Sykes was in no man's land and they couldn't get to him. As soon as Hicks steps off the right foot, they're always in a lot of trouble. Great work from Westwood, but not the best, was it, defensive-wise? There is huge problems for this mob and their coach, Steve McNamara. They can't get possession. Their positional sense is very poor, and they do not appear to be talking to each other in that defensive line. You've got to keep on at each other. Make sure I take this man, you take that. I'm afraid that's missing.
Well, Chris Hicks over for 2 tries. Carries the ball forward average in a match 11 times, as you see. He has kicked 1 from 2, and he has now kicked 2 from 3. It is 16 points to 0 in Warrington's favour. A tremendous start for them to this match here.
If you take the wrong options, it's always a bad problem. And I'm afraid that Bradford's defence are doing that all the time. Look at that. Sykes nowhere to be seen. He's off balance. 2-on-1. Little that Tajalala could do about that. But nice step from Hicks. He's enjoying this game.
You know, Warrington look a little bit like St Helens at the best. There are so many option runners for the man with the ball that it's making life hard for Bradford to defend against. It really is encouraging from a Wolves perspective how many of them are running into good positions and offering themselves to the man with the ball as an option to hit. And at the moment, the Bulls aren't finding any of the targets.
Warrington making a great start to this match. Remember, they have lost their last 7 away matches, stretching back 9 months. Their last win away from home was 1918 at Huddersfield, last July the 19th, 2008. Another long kick downfield. Warrington are just buying ground off Bradford at the moment.
Well, some relief in as much that it went dead in goal. Just a touch too heavy by John Clark, but I've been so impressed with the way that Warrington they've started out very well indeed. The defence is solid. They just can't get over the advantage line, Bradford, at all.
They haven't really had their hands on the football much, have they, in the opening 18 minutes, Bradford?
And when they've had it, it's been way down mostly in their own quarter.
They're still inside their own half here, but Kopjak trying to get them over halfway if he possibly can. 18th consecutive appearance for the 22-year-old. This is Andy Lynch, and going without it. There's a hospital pass, that one. Breer's dummy half for Warrington. Here is Ben Harrison again.
Well, it was poor play, wasn't it? You've got to make sure that you take the ball. Man zoning in. Sometimes the man carrying the football that's just about to offload, he's got to try to assess as well whether the man outside him is going to be covered. And again, a missed tackle. Becoming a nightmare, I'm afraid.
Wood it was who made the half break. Here is Monaghan. This is Breers. Breers over the top, cut out past to Bridge. Bridge has gone inside Michael Platt again, and Tajalala comes in with the tackle. Fortunately for Bradford, it's Breers who will hoist the kick, and King is the runner, and that's easy for King. If Matt King is onside, this is another 4-pointer for the Warrington Wolves.
Check onside, offside, please.
Breers looked up and saw him. Has Matt King got the 4th try for Warrington in the opening 20 minutes?
He looks onside as far as I am concerned. Ian Smith is a video referee tonight. A planned move. Breers knew exactly where the big Australian was going to be, and he plonks it right into no man's land. That is wonderful stuff. You could see that Ricky Sharif was going way out, so was Menzies. They anticipated the kick was going right into the corner. It wasn't. It went into open space and straight into the arms of this man, who I must say, Matt King has found it very difficult since he arrived from Australia, but with a combination and a kick like that, that certainly will lift his spirits. And the scoreline, well, it is becoming even more a nightmare as the seconds tick away. And the crowd here are really getting onto the backs of their Bulls supporters, but look at that. That was so easy. So easy. Take nothing away from the fact that he picked out the number, and the number had a big 4 in it, and that's what he had earned, 4 points.
Delighted, Matt King. 10 caps for Australia, 9 for New South Wales. By his own admission, hasn't hit the heights since he arrived here, but that was a great kick from Breers, and he was the man who was on the end of it. Missed only 2 games last year, only notched 11 tries. Well, he's got 4 tries already now, and we're not halfway through the season yet. And Hicks now with the opportunity to add 2 more points. It's 20 points to 0 right now, and it's 22 points to 0 now. Bradford in a hole.
And that's exactly what he picked out. Someone where no one was there, and you can see they were nowhere near. King was moving forward, got it down rather quickly, and it's a very dejected outfit at the moment. He'll be cock-a-hoop, why not?
When a team starts on a points avalanche like we often see in rugby league, it is very hard to stop, and the Bulls are finding that. But one of the key players here now behind the side needs to put his hand up and say, I'm going to do something here to stop the momentum that the Wolves have. It's got to be a big, strong tackle. It's got to force an error, because at the moment, this is far too easy. The Bulls need some aggression at the very least.
You're right, Phil. You're absolutely spot on with the fact that they need something to lift them. But I did mention before the start that psychologically, get off to a good start, score a few tries. I didn't anticipate 22-0, but the way that Warrington are playing and the way that Bradford are tackling, this could be any score.
Well, it could be, and you have to wonder whether Bradford are hitting the wall after their hectic Easter. A difficult game against Leeds, of course, and then they had a really close run thing at Wakefield, but it's not looking good for them. Let's go downstairs and join Bill.
Well, Eddie, just to tell you, I'm sitting in front of the main terrace here, and in front of the biggest contingent of Bradford supporters, and they're pretty dumbfounded by what they're seeing. As you say, a massive effort last Friday against the Leeds Rhinos, and the sort of effort that they admire here, and this is a complete chalk and cheese effort as far as they're concerned, and they're really just starting to voice their discontent at the way it's going for their side.
You have to be impressed with the patience of the coach, Steve McNamara, not to introduce any of the 4 substitutes. His side look a little tired in the forward, and they need an injection. In fact, Nick Scruton's out there now as we speak. They need somebody to provide a bit of punch in the centre.
He's got David Solomona sitting there as well, who can turn the game. But at 22-0, I'm not saying it's beyond the Bradford Bulls, but it's getting that way. Bradford needs to score next. There's Solomona, still with the vest on, so he needs to come into the action soon, one feels. 22 points to 0. It's Warrington in possession here. But just a stuttering little run then. Not the best pass from Clark, and Steve McNamara on the sideline, just looking a little concerned about what he's watching as Morley drives it forward again.
He's every right to be concerned, Eddie, mainly due to the fact that scoreline's 22-0. And he knows it's getting worse if they do not start talking to each other, lifting their spirits.
The kick from Breers is fumbled by Tadulala. He can't touch this. Hicks is offside.
Yeah,
but they'll bring him back for the knock-on. Referee has stopped the game. He's just indicated there Bradford's head and feed, the referee. Wasn't it Bradford's knock on?
Well, it was not played.
That's a knock on.
Well, that's a knock. No, that is a knock on.
He's right.
Warrington head and feet.
The ball went off. Tadulala hit the Warrington man, and the Warrington man cannot nullify the knock-on by the Bradford Bulls winger Semi Tadulala. So it's spot on.
And just to explain to some of the viewers, perhaps not au fait with our rules, is the ball doesn't have to hit the ground, as you mentioned, Eddie.
Well, in that case, shouldn't it be head and feet the other way?
No, I said it doesn't have to hit the ground to be nominated as a knock-on. It hit the man, so it constitutes a knock-on.
Yes, so it was
You got it right.
It was a Bradford knock-on.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. I'm
Well,
just trying
Bradford got head and feet at the scrum.
Well, you're right then. We've got it wrong.
Here's Jeffries. This is Langley.
The referee's at fault.
Well, I was totally confused then, and you were making me more confused, and I confused myself even more. But Bradford aren't wondering about all that. Here is Scruton. This is a chance for them.
19 years and you're still asking.
Newton at dummy half. Here is the man, Solomona. He's the man who might change it for Bradford. Immediate response from David Solomona. But I must say that Bradford got the possession on the back of a very, very dodgy decision from referee Thierry Alibert. But when you're in a 22-0 down situation, you take whatever comes.
You certainly do, Ed, and let's be fair, the rub of the green was certainly going the Wolves' way for the first part of this game, and they've had a little bit of luck going their way as well. But the man that so often has turned the game for the Bulls, David Solomona, this is the incident that should have created. See how he loses it, Tadulala, and the mere fact that it hits the Warrington player bridge. You've got to say to yourself that that constitutes a knock-on. Obviously very difficult from the man with the whistle. He wasn't in a good position. But this man throws the dummy, gets out of the way. Chris Bridge could do nothing about it. Sheer strength out of the way, through the dummy. That was class. And boy, did the Bulls need that.
They did, David Solomona, but as I say, it's a gift for them because they should never have had possession from the scrum. And Steve-O says, Phil, it's a difficult situation for the referee. He wasn't in a very good position. Where's his touch judge?
Well, you have to ride your luck, don't you? But I just going back to David Solomona. Didn't Liverpool have a super sub in the 70s and 80s?
David Fairclough.
Well, I think David Solomona's just done a similar trick here, hasn't he, for the Bulls?
And he has missed with the kick as Sykes.
If ever a side needed a player to come onto the field and make a difference, the Bradford Bulls were that team. It's 4 points to 22, but they are now back and alive in the match.
Yes, they are. Suddenly there's a little ray of hope, and it's come from David Solomona. Dislocated the shoulder in round one. He missed 7. He only got 5 tries last year. He created many, many more. And, well, Bradford suddenly have something maybe to build on. Menzies puts his hand up, wants to take the kick-off, and does.
Amazing to think as well, it was one of the very few occasions that Bradford had gone down the field, got over the halfway line, and got themselves to a pretty good position, courtesy of that touch of luck with the head and feet at the scrum base.
Here's the man again, Solomona. Stands and gets the offload up way. Here is Sam Burgess. Suddenly they're playing with a little bit of confidence. 6-4 at the KC Stadium, Hull against Wakefield. A little bit more one-sided here, but Bradford suddenly with the sniff of something. Isn't it strange just in the way rugby league is cyclical? All of a sudden it's now swung Bradford's way with a bit of territory, and here they come with Sykes.
Oh, just an ankle tap there.
Vital
that was
one.
Good work from Louis Anderson, just clipped his heels.
Comes in a sec. Yes, and let's have a look how this builds. Here's Solomona, stabs the kick through, Riley to the rescue, and Tadulala gets him down.
I think what the Warrington side have done here, they've come with a no-nonsense, no-frills approach from coming away from their own line. The Lee Breers charge down kick was the first mistake they have made, which has allowed Bradford to change this momentum of this game. Bradford are now in the ascendance here, and we're really going to see a test of the Warrington steel that we haven't seen so far in Super League.
Go.
That was Westwood at the dummy half. Right forward was from Paul Wood.
With a commanding lead, they can...
Another 40-20 attempt here from Breers. Bounced just the wrong way, off the feet of Halley. Good chase though from Warrington.
It's been a feature all night, hasn't it? And so has this man's kicking. Pretty solid compared to his opposite, Ben Jeffries. He's only one at the races. Biggest problem though, Bradford, 10 missed tackles already. and 5 of those from the centre, Michael Platt. It's going to be a big decision for Steve McNamara. Does he change him?
Warrington's discipline recently has been fantastic. They conceded just 1 penalty in 80 minutes that they played on Easter Monday, and we're almost half an hour into this game, and they still haven't given one single penalty away, which is often the platform for teams to attack.
Here come the Bradford Bulls, though, in the shape of Andy Lynch. Gives it back to Terry Newton, doesn't see anything left, so goes right, and that option was closed off to him by Mickey Hyam. This is the last one here for Bradford. High kick from Ben Jeffries. It's a tester, but it's very well taken by Paul Johnson. And Johnson gets the ball away to Riley, who is a flyer. And Riley backs himself, and he goes round Dave Halley. And if the bounce is kind for Riley, this will be a try. And the bounce is kind, and it is a try. And Riley, that's a magnificent effort from Chris Riley. Well, he just backed himself then, the Warrington fullback. It was sensational. He got the pass, and he was away, and he only had Dave Halley to beat, and he thought, well, I'll just chip him, and he chipped over the top. The bounce was perfect. Luck again for Warrington with the bounce, but nothing lucky about the try. Riley, sensational try for them.
Not only Riley's try was outstanding, you've got to hand it to Paul Johnson. He takes the kick. Many a player as a winger will take it and say we're quite happy with a convincing lead, but no. He gets around the winger and offloads. That is sheer quality. And so is this. Halley just thought about maybe checking him. It would have been a penalty anyway. Oh, that is tremendous. Well, all season the Warrington fans have been waiting for something like this. And boy, this is outstanding. Super stuff. We might get a smile. No. Maybe later.
Eddie, I think it's fair to say that St Helens set the benchmark in Super League, and that try was the sort of thing you'd see from St Helens. The mentality, the skill and the speed to score a 100-metre try helps to get you to grand finals.
Sensational try from Chris Riley, and quite a try to register your first of the season with. Chris Riley, can Hicks add the extras here? He does. He slides it over the top of the bar, and after the 4-pointer from David Solomona, order is restored from a Warrington point of view.
Now then, Bradford go for the kick, don't they? 2 of them go in at the same time, and they forget about having someone out wide. Kick over the top, absolutely superb. Great stuff. What a try.
David.
Well, there's a smile from Tony Smith. His team should be making him smile, because look at that scoreline, 28 points to 4 here at Odsal against the Bradford Bulls. They really are, aren't they, the Jekyll and Hyde of this country, Warrington.
We've said for years they're yo-yos, aren't they?
You never know what you're going to see. You're either going to see abject failure or stuff like this. Incredible.
Too early.
It's been the same year on year.
Yep. When they're up, and when they're down, they're really down.
7 minutes to half-time, 28 points to 4. Warrington leading here.
Go. Well done.
And their away record, as I pointed out before, is atrocious. They haven't won away from home in 9 months. It looks like they might be on the way here. Mind you, there are comebacks that have been happening in rugby league, and Bradford were involved in one, of course, against the Catalan Dragons just a couple of short weeks ago. One that is still haunting them here. They lost in the Perpignan region against the Catalan Dragons in the Cup. They were 26-0 up. But here come Warrington again with King, and Johnson is in again. The boos ring around Odsal. The Bradford Bull supporters are restless, and one of their old boys, Paul Johnson, who was in that winning lineup at Old Trafford in 2005, has put Warrington over the 30-point mark, and we're not even at half-time yet. Paul Johnson with the try. He did have a spell here, 2004, 2006, and that's his 5th try of the campaign.
Well, it's so easy. Look at this Bradford defence. Some are coming in, some are coming out. Menzies had gone, he should have stayed out wide. They're just not working for each other. You can't hesitate in a defence. You either go as a unit, if you stand back, the confidence has completely gone from the Bulls outfit. And Johnson has taken full credit for that. He created the try for Riley. It was neat work, and then he finished it off. And the good combination. Isn't it nice to see, for once, that Matt King linking with his outside winger, and that's what occurred, and it has stunned the Bulls outfit.
Well, the Warrington supporters dancing and smiling and clapping, and the Bradford supporters just scratching their heads and wondering what on earth has gone on here.
Well, it's basic rugby league football from Warrington, and their ability to keep the ball alive. We saw that when Johnson, not only defusing the bomb, he looked for support, got it, Riley scored, and it was just a basic, get the ball out wide, poor defence, got the numbers, Johnson in.
Hicks to try and add the extras, and Hicks has added the extras. 6 tries to Warrington in the first half. They lead here by 34 points to 4.
I think the energy that the Warrington Wolves side is playing with is particularly impressive. It's probably been missing so far this year in Super League. But the way they're pushing for each other in attack, they're creating them opportunities. The try was scored off Paul Johnson's offload. It's because they're playing with energy and people are pushing for each other in attack.
Well done.
Well, where do Bradford go from here? Well, Steve McNamara must hope against hope. Oh, hang on. Menzies has pinched the ball off the kickoff.
Tremendous take, wasn't it?
12-8 at Hull, 34-4 here as Burgess drives it in for Bradford. Here's another opportunity for them and another test. In fact, one of the few tests we've had on this Warrington line. Breers has been penalised for holding down. That's the first penalty they've conceded. Here is Nick Scruton.
But what about the enthusiasm shown from Breers there? He knew he'd given away the penalty, rushed back into his position.
Newton and Burgess, and over the top it goes. This is Ricky Sharif, and he is held up short of the line by Louis Anderson's tackle. Newton spreads it to Jeffries. Jeffries gives it further width to Solomona. Here's the go-to man. Bumps through one, can't get away from Ben Westwood. Halley is the dummy half this time for Bradford. Will give it to Jeffries. Jeffries then helps it on to Newton, back on the inside to Sykes. Sykes has lost it. Knock on.
Yeah, he's got it right as the French referee.
And Warrington celebrate the knock on with equal vigour as they've celebrated each one of their 6 tries.
They've actually crunched the opposition, and Steve McNamara knows that as well. They're not even at the races. Okay, it was a good effort there by Steve Menzies from the kickoff, but the solid defence from the Wolves tonight.
This is Vinnie Anderson on off the bench. Almost 100 appearances in the British game, 49 of them for St Helens. 3 minutes to half-time. Steve McNamara will be hoping against hope to just have it at 34-4 and the half-time siren sounds. It's almost a hopeless cause, but McNamara will want to get at his charges during that half-time break. This is Anderson again for Warrington. And what does Tony Smith say to Warrington?
Very little, just keep going.
Breers has gone for another early kick. Ali collects it.
It's an old saying, but the kick's only as good as the chase, and yet again, they must have been working overtime on the training pitch. Kick and chase, they're just completely nullifying anything that Bradford's throwing at them. Very few breaks from Bradford.
And Ricky Sharif just takes a tumble. The rain. I'm just looking. Is it fog that, or is it rain? Is it raining out there?
I'll put my hand out. It's fog.
Bit of mist. It's not raining, I'm told from Bill on the side. It's dry.
Well, my hand didn't get wet, so what can Bradford do? They've got to at least score before the half-time break. Just,
There's the chance.
An opportunity.
There's the opportunity. That's a 0 tackle. This is an opportunity for Bradford. Jeffries. Burgess charges it forward. Mike Cooper there with the tackle. Terry Newton. Newton trying to pinch one. Moving from dummy half. Held up, though, by 3 Warrington defenders. Back it comes here to Sykes. Now it's with Jeffries. Jeffries, good hit by Westwood. Finished off by Hyam. Dave Halley, dummy half. Solomona fires the pass to Michael Platt, and Michael Platt is in. Bradford's second try of this first half. Scored by Michael Platt, who really has been under the cosh down this left-hand side in defence for Bradford in the first half. He got a try as a substitute against Wakefield on Monday, but that's his first try at Odsal since last June.
Well, it's been a smart move, hasn't it, by Steve McNamara, the coach, to put on the big fella David Solomona, who was instrumental in creating that for Platt. It all came about from an error from Warrington, one of the very few. He's got the long body, stretch out over the top. Nothing they could do from Bridge to get that. This is the error there. Offload to Chris Riley, not the best. And the big fella sends out a good pass. A glimmer, and that's about all. But at least Steve McNamara can walk into the dressing room feeling a lot more confident. But this is important that he adds the extra two.
Sykes trying to do exactly that, and in off the post for Paul Sykes. It's 34 points to 10. Last time we saw Warrington on Sky Sports, they were at Wakefield in February. They trailed at half-time, 30 points to 10. They're going to turn around with a similar scoreline, but this time in their favour. And not much of a reaction from the Bradford fans to that try, was there? They leave the field to boos ringing in their ears, Bradford. Not happy, the natives here, but the Warrington supporters will be absolutely thrilled and delighted. That's arguably the best first half that they have had for a long, long time.